face it, not everything you make in art is great. Sometimes you have good days, and sometimes you have bad days. Sometimes your art is excellent, and other times your art sucks.
Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel and welcome to this new video. In this new video I have a very embarrassing piece that we're going to look at. Very embarrassing for me because it's just a horrible drawing. But yeah, anyways, if you saw the thumbnail, today we're going to look at this drawing of Superman that I did way back in 2019. As you can probably tell from the series, I did a lot of crappy drawings in 2019. But yeah, just in my defense, I was learning how to ink. I had gone back into inking after 10 years of not drawing at all. So I had to pick up the pen and then learn how to draw again practically, because inking is a completely different process from penciling. And there's techniques that you do in pencils that do not translate over to inks. And so you have to actually learn how to ink and ink properly. So this is how I did art back in those days, and the art is not pretty, to say the least, and I apologize for that. But that's the idea of the series. This is Your Art Sucks. The series is dedicated to taking a look at my past artwork, seeing what things I did wrong in those pieces and how I can improve them. Obviously, I'm going to tell you how to improve them based on what I know as an artist from my time learning and drawing and exploring and studying and just learning more in general about art, specifically inking in this case, comic book inking. So there's some concepts that I tend to throw around, and so yeah, so let's get into it. Let's dissect this piece and look at all of its mistakes. Yeah, this is very humiliating for me. There's a few things because I really do not like this piece. Yeah, I really do not like it. This is the piece from top to bottom. Superman, for me at least, is one of my weaknesses. I cannot draw him very well. Maybe one day I will after practice, I guess. I've drawn him twice, and both times they have come out horrible. But yeah, so this was horrible. So let's see the problems with my Superman drawing. That's a lot. But anyways, let's get into it. The first thing that pops out to me is stiffness. Now, stiffness is what happens when there is no motion or energy in a drawing. All right, so again, stiffness is what happens when there's no motion or energy in a drawing. So the idea of all comic book art, or the majority of comic book art, is to or when you're drawing in general, is just to display a sense of motion in the piece. You have to give the reader the at least the illusion that the piece is alive in some way and that there's something happening, you know? So I feel that this piece is very stiff because my lines are very rigid. There's not a flow of action in this case. If you take a look at the pose, I'll draw this here. If you take a look at the pose, it's just Superman, his torso, and like the top half of his legs. He's got one arm bent, and then the other arm is extended. All right, so the line of motion is straight up down the page, which is very boring. It's very boring. For comic book art, it's very boring. I don't think you'll ever see a piece of artwork from DC, a Superman artwork with Superman just standing there. I don't think that's something that you'll ever see. So that's just a very boring pose, not to say the least. And so usually what people aim to draw is things in action. And so to do that, for example, you have to stretch the pose in many different directions, or as much as you can, as you possibly can. No? So for example, something like this pops up, like a closed fist type thing, and then he's lunging forward, and then his leg. This right here, just by sketching this out, is much more dynamic than that. So you can see, for example, the character is moving in this direction. You can draw speed lines to improve that across the character. But as you look at this character, the line of motion is much more dynamic. Now the line of motion is like this. The character is like that. So the character is going in that direction. It's much more dynamic than just standing there. So something that I would recommend is just play around with this. There's different kinds of poses that you can do. There's different kinds of things that you can do to play with that dynamic aspect of art. Again, this is called there's a name for this concept in the world of art, and this is called gesture drawing. That's the concept, gesture drawing. Put that there for you, gesture drawing. Take a look at that, look into it, and then you'll see that in gesture drawing, for example, poses are much more dynamic. They're much more dynamic, much more interesting and fun to draw, more catching to the eye, and so that's what you should aim for. You should aim for things like that, something very dynamic, not stiff and rigid and boring like this. So that's right off the bat. That's just a horrible drawing. Just by the pose. I could put it here, pose. Number two, the second biggest issue here is rendering. Again, as you have seen in my previous videos, back in this day, my go-to method for rendering was just doing parallel lines. So if there was a shape that I wanted to, for example, like if let's imagine that I have this. Let's imagine that I have this block. And let's just imagine that this area here is shaded and this area here is shaded. So back then in 2019, what I would do is I would get parallel lines, and I would do that. Take a long time doing this, and then putting in all these lines, parallel lines, and then doing that to give the shading. It's a valid technique. It is valid. You can do that. But I just don't like it. Just my personal preference. I don't like it, especially for things like the fabric here and the clothes, things here. It's not a good thing to have that kind of rendering throughout the entire image. It looks very bland, very dead. Usually with comic book art, what you want to do is play with it. So for example, like if I had that same picture now. I'm sorry, if I had the same block and I'm rendering it now, what I would do is just ink this in all black. I just fill the whole thing out in black. That would be it. That would be my solution in that case. Yeah, just render everything in black. There's no need to. You can even count the seconds of how fast that was versus how fast or how long this takes, having to render the side like this. So that's what I used to do, and this is what I do now. And so this looks much, along with other pieces of the art, no, this looks much more, it looks much better in my opinion. Again, this is all my opinion. So this is something that I would correct in this drawing. There's a lot of space, a lot of areas here where you can just render it in all black, like behind the cape. Right here, this area under his chest, right here where his shoulder is at, this other part under his hand. There's different areas, and yeah, and doing that balances out the whole image, because if we just look at this image here, the first thing that pops in your mind, the first thing that your eye sees is the hair. and the eyebrows, because they're done in heavy black. So that contrast of the black against the white is automatically what catches any viewer's attention. So if you look at this piece, the first thing your eyes goes to is right there. And if that's the purpose, like if you have a drawing and you want the viewer to look specifically in one area, you can play with contrast like that to focus the attention towards that. But in this case, no, the piece is just one superhero, so that this black should be balanced by having other areas of black in the drawing, so then that way you're not just drawn here, so you're also drawn to the bottom corner, bottom left corner, center, and so you start viewing the entire piece. No, but here you just go straight there, and then kind of like glance at this as you're done looking at that. And so that's that's what I mean with that. No, so contrast can help a lot, and it is used a lot in comics to for that purpose. Just to give you an example, this is a panel, and I have this idea on my mind because a few days ago I was watching Indiana Jones and Raiders of the Lost Ark, and there's a really cool what is that called? There's a really good shot in the movie where Indy's asking his workers, the people there in the I think they're in Egypt, to help him dig up the ark. So, and Spielberg chooses a very interesting shot, which I like, which also is used in comics, where, I mean, you know it's Indy talking, you know it's the guys working in the background, but all you see in the shot is just a character standing. You see a character standing, his hat on his head, something like that, and then you see pickaxe, or you see a shovel, and they're digging up the snow, digging up the sand. Now you see the random head, and then you see another pickaxe. Pickaxes are going to town. No, so that is a valid frame that you can choose. No, or I mean that's you can. When you look at that image, for example, your eyes go straight here. So if that's the intention, then great. No, but here I'm just playing with this so you can see what I'm playing with this so you can see how contrast works. Here I have a solid black character against a white background with another black outline like that. And so when you look at that, your eye goes straightly to the character. Your eye goes directly to the character, whether or not you intend it to. Just your eye gets drawn to that because of that contrast. Now the black against the white. And here there's minimal contrast. There's lesser contrast here because it's like a shaded gray area, and that doesn't really catch your attention as much as the black against the white. So that's something that you should play with here. So that's why you go straight to the hair. And so the hair just in general is not rendered right. It's just a black blob, and I used I think it was a Posca pen just to put some white highlights on it, but I wasn't sure how to put the highlights, and I just drew a bunch of lines, squiggles, and it just looks horrible in my opinion. So that just completely killed it for me. And then the eyebrows, I think the eyebrows are okay because it's just solid black. But yeah, for the rendering, just use blacks and not use parallel lines. Use solid blacks. Instead of parallel lines. Parallel lines are good. I don't want to say that they suck. They're good, but they're just not good for this purpose. This purpose, I want to demonstrate that there's a shape there, and the best way to do that, in my opinion, is with solid blacks like that. And so that's what I recommend rendering in that case. And then other than that, I mean, Obviously, there's a lot of deadlines, so we can use line weights to improve. I mentioned line weights in every video because back in this time period, I had nothing but deadlines. And just a quick rundown. What is a deadline? A deadline is a line that has no thickness, no variation in thickness. It's just the same thickness all the way throughout the line. That's not what you want in comics. In comics, you want a variation to that. You want some areas of the line to be thick, other areas of the line to be thin, and that is what you look for. That kind of change. And so what determines the change? Things like the proximity of the character or the object that you're drawing to the camera. The closer it is to the camera, the thicker it should be. Another thing that influences that is shadows. Objects that are in the shadow should have bigger, darker lines, and then objects closer towards the light source should have thinner lines. Areas of the object that are further from the light source, or the furthest away from the light source, should have the thickest black lines. So that's another factor that determines the thickness of the line. So I've done a bunch of videos. If you take a look at one of the previous Your Art Sucks videos, or I think I have another video where I just focus on line weights. You can take a look at those videos, and then I go deep into what it is, what line weights are, how you can mess around with them, how you can make them thicker and thinner, in what cases. And I show you some examples through the artwork of Art Adams, if I'm not mistaken. So I'll be sure to post that video at the end of this. So when you get to the end of the video, it'll get suggested. So click on that so you can see all of my information for line weights. And yeah, so that's pretty much it. Stiffness, very stiff character, horrible rendering in the hair. Just a horrible look in my opinion for Superman. I did him wrong. I did him very wrong in this piece. And so hopefully one day I'll get to draw him better. And speaking of drawing him better, in all of these Your Art Sucks videos, I mentioned a bunch of different characters like Jean Grey, Storm, I got Ant-Man, I got Nightcrawler, I got Superman now, and I have a bunch of other characters. I have Cloud from Final Fantasy. Take a look at my previous videos. And what I'm planning to do now next is select one of those drawings from one of those previous videos and redraw the character. Redraw it and yeah, just do a redrawing of the character and make him look much better, because this is from 2019, so a new 2024 version of the character I think will look really cool. So I have that in mind. So I'm going to figure out how to do this, because I will have time, I think maybe in 2 weeks, to do that. So by that time I'll make sure I'll set up a poll and pick out all the different characters that we have, and then I'm gonna let you guys decide which character I draw, and then I will redraw that character. I'll probably do a drawing video also, so you can see the process as I ink it, or maybe I could do a live stream about it. I'm not sure. I'll figure that out, but that's going to be the next thing. It's going to pop up maybe in 2 or 3 weeks. So start thinking, which character would you like to see me draw again? I have a lot. There's Jean Grey, there's Storm, there's Superman, there's Ant-Man, there's I got a bunch. So just take a look at the YouTube videos, and then just to get an idea, and then as soon as I announce it, we'll make it work, and then I will draw what you tell me to draw. So that's it. Thank you very much for the video. Sorry if it takes so long. If you like the video, please hit the like button. Please hit the like button. If you don't like the video, then guess what? Hit the like button anyways, because the likes help with the visibility of the video. So that means that the more likes I get, the greater the possibility of this video being shown out to the general public. So please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't. I post videos every Thursday at noon, so please be sure to tune in then to check on the latest videos. And that's it. Thank you very much. Have a great day. You guys take care and be safe. Goodbye. Hello, everyone. The time is finally upon us. Ominus Avenging Death is now available. Avenging Death is a short 10-page story that serves as a preview of what kind of art you can expect and the world you'll see in the main story of Ominus. In Avenging Death, we'll see Zadok take on the monstrous Deathmonger in a 10-page fight scene that'll be sure to get you hooked into the world of Ominus. All of the artwork is done, including the line art, which was done by me, the colors, which were done by Emmanuel Orlas, and the lettering, which was done by Paul Bird. So grab your copy of the digital PDF file today for only $5. That's right, $5. Contact me in my DMs on Twitter for more information. Now, coming up next is the official trailer of Ominus Avenging Death. Enjoy.